Hey y'all, I'm back. Hopefully you all had a good Valentine's President's Day weekend and are home safe and everything, as well as if you were in the Bay Area and attending the All-Star game for the NBA. Hope you had a good time attending that or watching it with your family. But I wanted to come on here because, I wanted to talk a little wrestling. Now, over this past weekend, of course, we had two wrestling shows on the same day. Well, kind of on the same day. We had NXT Vengeance Day, which pretty much, in my opinion, solidified, this version of NXT as being the best version since the OG Black and Gold. That's what it did to me. It solidified that this is like the second coming of NXT since the Black and Gold days. Like, this is basically getting back to what NXT was. Because now you have not just Julia as NXT Women's Champion, but now you have Stephanie Valkyrie as the NXT Women's North American Champion. You have Obi Femi as the, you have Obi Femi as the, basically the NXT Champion. Trying to find my words there. And you have Tony D'Angelo as the NXT North American Champion. You have Lexis King as the Heritage Cup Champion. And you have Fraxium as the NXT Tag Team Champions, who basically everybody has really praised Fraxium. That being Nathan Frazier and Axiom, formerly A-Kid. They have praised them as being a makeshift tag team that has gone on to be one of the best tag teams in wrestling right now across the board. They have proven that in NXT. They've proven it during a couple of appearances in TNA. So they have proven to be one of the more legit tag teams that was just made out of nowhere. And I think they were made because they were made and put together for the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Anyway, NXT had a great night because basically, to me, they solidified that this is like the second coming of what NXT was supposed to be originally since the OG Black and Gold days. Some people will agree with that, some people will disagree with that, but I think it's hard to really not look at what you're seeing now with NXT and be like, okay, this is what NXT was about. This is how NXT should have been since the get-go. It should have never changed. We shouldn't have had an NXT 2.0. So this feels, familiar, but also new. I mean, tonight, you're going to get the contract signing. By the time you probably listen to this and watch it, you're going to get the contract signing of Ricky Starks, or whatever name he's going to go by. We're assuming, according to reports, it's going to be Ricky Starks. He's going to sign his contract with NXT, and he's going to get pushed right away. He's going to get pushed right away. Now, you also have a couple of new factions coming into play. You got the Shawn Spears faction, which is going to be feuding with Tony D'Angelo's family because Izzy Dame turned on them. So you got Shawn Spears, who's going to be put into the North American title picture. You have this new, as some people put it, almost Retribution/Shield-like group, consisting of a couple of talents that have been on NXT, but some new talents in the PC that obviously are going to try to cause chaos and everything. And the main targets right now to send a message for is Fraxium and Obi Femi. Basically, they're saying in those attacks they did on Saturday during Vengeance Day was, we want the tag titles, we want the NXT title. End of story. And that's basically what this group's going to seemingly be about. And then they're probably going to go after the North American Championship after D'Angelo and Spears have finished their little dance, if you will. But yeah, NXT Vengeance Day basically, in my opinion, I guess you could say resurrected that feeling that was NXT Black and Gold, but now for a new generation, because you're getting that feeling back under the Shawn Michaels administration for NXT. And you got this partnership with TNA going on. You got Jordan Grace in there now temporarily. And that's the one thing people have to understand too. Jordan Grace and Ricky Starks are going to be in NXT for at least the next several months. I would say at least until SummerSlam at most, if not Backlash at the earliest. They will be, on the NXT roster to kind of get their feet wet, get themselves familiar with the NXT, for the WWE product, I should say. Sorry about a little pause there. I was trying to find my words. But basically, they're going to be there for some time, get a push, maybe become a champion. Well, at least in Ricky Stark's case, he will be. And then go to the main roster before this year is out. That's a guarantee. But yeah, NXT definitely had a good show. And definitely felt like they were back, where they should be. Back to being the NXT people fell in love with back in 2012. Kind of getting that feeling back. We'll have to see what they do tonight to capitalize on it, but it looks like they're on the way of doing it. They've already uploaded a video, WWE that is, on Ricky Starks arriving at the Performance Center. So we'll see what happens. But also on Saturday, we had AEW Grand Slam Australia. Everybody's been talking about that. Everybody has praised it to being the better of the two shows, even though it was on tape delay here in the States. The only thing, though, people were critical about, the only thing people were critical about, no matter how much people like Sean Ross Sapp or whoever Sean Ross Sapp answers to at Fightful, and anybody else wants to defend it, anybody with good vision or not so good vision could see that the ring AEW was using in Brisbane was not their typical ring. Now, with that aside, everybody has praised it to being the better of the two shows, and that's great. And I want to come on here and talk about that for a second, okay? Because you could have a great show. You can have a great show and everything. That's fine. You could steal the show. You could have match of the year classic after match of the year classic and all that. That's great. That's fine. But when one of the main components of the aesthetic that is the presentation of your product, and that being the wrestling ring itself, where these performers perform, where these wrestlers wrestle, when that main aesthetic of your attraction is getting people's attention more so than the action, even though the action made the show great, better than, NXT, when you have, that main aesthetic being the main talking point, then there's an issue. There's a problem. And that problem is the fact that you keep coming out, you keep having people that work for you come out, you keep having people that people assume, and maybe justifiably, that you're paying under the table to come out and defend the fact that that ring is a typical AEW ring, or one of your typical AEW rings that you would have. But people could see as plain as day that's not the case. Because when they go back and compare it to, like JD did, you compare it to the AEW ring at Wembley, and then you compare this, it's like, how are they the same? It doesn't feel the same. And if you go and watch some videos, like let's say BDJ, I think it's BDJW Forever. I think that's his name. I think that's what it's called. Hold on for a sec. Let me check. Because I was watching some of the videos today. Yeah, it's BWJ. It's BWJ Forever. BDWJ Forever. They're known for doing the oh my god videos. The compilations and everything. And basically, when you look at some of the highlights that they put in these compilations, and you look at the rings there, and you see how small they are, people basically will look at those rings and say that's basically what AEW had. So if you're going to have people look and compare, let's say a CZW ring, being basically being the same size as the AEW ring used in Australia, then there's an issue. There is a problem. There's something that, doesn't add up, if you know what I mean. Now, you can believe what you want to believe, and maybe, sake of argument, maybe the camera made it come off like it was a small ring. Maybe it was bigger. We don't know. Maybe the camera work, the way the camera was positioned on the hard cam side and everything, maybe it made it look like it was small. But everybody that walked into the arena took pictures of the set, took pictures of the ring, took video of the set, took video of the ring, all have said the same thing. that the ring is smaller than the typical AEW ring. You watch Dynamite tomorrow night on TBS, and you tell me if that's the same ring. You tell me if that's the same ring. You know, when they come back home, when they, where are they going to be next, tomorrow? What, in Texas or somewhere? You tell us. You tell us if that's the same ring. And if it is, more power to you. But you tell us. Because you even have Buddy Matthews, you know, even though some people would say it was a joke, he was being sarcastic, you know, playing off of everybody's complaint about the ring. You know, Buddy Matthews even, you know, sarcastically said it was smaller. Whether you take that seriously or not, even though he played into it, he acknowledged how small it was. So when you have someone like that acknowledging in a tweet, sarcastically or not, and deleting said tweet, I should say, later on, you have them coming out and saying, yeah, the ring was indeed small. And then you have all these other sources contacting people, you know, from here and there anonymously, like a JD, like a wrestling purist, like a, you know, like Sports Kita and so on, and a PW Torch and PW Insider. When you have them all being contacted by these people anonymously or not anonymously, and they're all basically saying the same thing, that the ring was small, you know, smaller, I should say, than the typical AEW ring, and they're working in AEW behind the scenes, and maybe some of them are talents that want to remain anonymous, you know, that should be very telling. That should be very telling. Now, again, it didn't take away from the excitement of the show. It didn't take away from the show being good. It was one of the better shows. Everybody has said, everybody has said, I'm trying to find my words, that it was the better of the two shows. So, you know, credit where credit is due. But when you have fans that are attending there, walking the concourse to go find their seats, and they see with their own eyes, and they take picture and video, that the ring is slightly smaller than the typical AEW ring they're used to seeing on television, then that should be telling you something. When word goes around that this ring may have been on donation or loan from a PWA promotion in Sydney, Australia, then that right there should be a red flag. Like, if you're hearing reports of that, you know, that there's obviously some truth to it. It's like that old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. And when you have more people coming out and basically backing up what a lot of people have saw with their own eyes, a lot of fans attending live, you know, attending the event live themselves, saw with their own eyes. People watching on television, seeing with their own eyes. When you have, you know, more people, you know, that work, you know, that basically work, you know, in this business as insiders, as reporters, people that have sources, legit or not so legit, all saying the same thing, more so than those that have reputations of trying to be truthful, trying to be legit, and they're saying, no, that's not true, then there's something going on there. There's fire to where that smoke that's accumulating more so than the other smoke is coming from. There's a lot of truth, whether people want to acknowledge that or not. Now again, to repeat, I agree. The ring set, you know, the size of the ring shouldn't take away from the enjoyment of the show. I agree with that. But when it's your main attraction, right in the middle of the venue, and whether or not this was going to be in Suncorp, or whether or not they would have kept this in Suncorp or not, when it's your main attraction in the middle of your venue, and people can see as bright as day that it is not the same ring, it is significantly smaller. When you have basically people using little meme gifs of Kenny Omega basically sitting on the mat after avoiding a kick from Kyle Fletcher, and Kyle Fletcher has to fling himself, you know, literally over the second rope or something like that to make it look like he's gone over the top or whatever, and Kenny's just sitting there and he's got this expressional look like, this ring is not fun because it's too bouncy, and he's been one to basically say he doesn't like AEW's ring. When you have him, you know, in people's eyes have that kind of a look on his face to where someone even comments that when the referee walks across, it feels like an earthquake, and you have Kenny Omega sitting there on the mat going like, what is going? What something's off? Something's off. You know, like he knows something's not right. Then that should tell you. That should be major clue 101, or that should be major clue 101, I should say, that something is not right. Something is not clicking. Something is off. And what is off is the fact that that ring was not the same ring. And again, I understand and I agree. It don't matter what the ring looks like. It shouldn't take away from what you see in it. And that's true. That's true. But when you have all these people, you know, when you have all these people talking more about the significance of how, you know, how much smaller the ring was compared to the typical AEW ring, then that's a problem. When that's overshadowing all the praise your show is getting and the praise of it being better than the NXT show, but very slightly, that's a problem. And you need to address that. If you want to make good with the fans, you want to keep this hot streak of good programming and good shows going, good wrestling in-ring action going, you want to try to win them back, you need to be truthful with them. If I'm Tony Khan, I come out tomorrow night on Dynamite, I thank the fans for watching Australia. I go out and do that, you know, despite being booed or not, I go out and thank them. And then if I'm Tony Khan, I address the ring issue. I come out and I say, yes, I admit, you know, right here and now that the ring was not our typical AEW ring. We had to borrow it. Yes, a lot of you fans noticed that. We thank you for that. And that next time we go overseas, we will make sure to be ahead of schedule. We will make sure to have a ring ready to go there. Or ready to go then. That's all he would have to do. And once he does that, all this whole, oh, the ring was too small situation, it kind of took away from the show, but it didn't really. But it kind of was like one of the more remembrance portions of the show people are going to have. You know, if he does that, then I think all this will kind of die down if people will focus more on AEW trying to build to Revolution. You know, so, again, I agree. The ring shouldn't take away from people's enjoyment of the show. I totally agree with that. But, again, when it is a glaring issue, when it is when it's one of the main, if not the main glaring issue on a show that was overall good and better than the competition on the same day, even though it was on tape delay, you know, that is saying something. That is an issue. And hopefully he addresses that. You know, hopefully. And if not, well, it just proves that he's just too much of an egotist to, and I say it with all due respect, too much of an egotist to, basically, put his guard down for once and just say, yes, you guys were right about the ring. It wasn't our typical ring. You know, thank you for addressing that. Thank you for letting us know. And we give you our word that next time we go over to Australia next year or go to the UK next year, that we will have our ring set and ready to go. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do, in my opinion, to get this whole ring situation, wiped off the mat, in my opinion, or at least put to rest. But yeah, overall, though, outside of that, AEW did have a good show. We got to admit that. We have to acknowledge that. They did have a good show. And despite the fact that 4 out of the 3 out of the 4 countrymen and women did not win, they did make the right choice with the main event. Because they know they're going to run this back at Revolution. They got to basically give us, they got to give the crowd there, something, some kind of, penitence, if you will, because of what they had to go through just to see this happen. So I'll give them credit there. They made the right decision, with Tony Storm regaining the championship. But again, the other Aussies, if you will, yeah, I think the crowd said it best during the towards the end of the Brisbane brawl. I think they are right about that. That, yeah, Jay White losing, who's one of the countrymen, was BS. And I think they felt the same way about Harley Cameron losing, even though she still has some work to do, still has a lot of time on her hands, and and along with Buddy Matthews, I think everybody there, they were happy with Tony winning, because obviously if you didn't give him that, I don't know what Tony would do, what the reaction would be. But, I bet you anything, maybe it's just me, I bet you anything, if he would have had all the Aussies lose, if I'm Tony Khan, the booing I got coming out to that arena, because basically people feel they were scammed, I guarantee you, if I'm Tony Khan and I was to make that decision after that final main event, let's say if it was Mariah winning, if I'm Tony Khan, I would have taken off my headset, got my coat, bolted right for that exit, and if people are asking me where I'm going, I'm saying, I'm going to my limo, I'm heading to the airport, I'm out of here. But he didn't have to do that, thank goodness, because he made the right decision. Now, the question is, how does he wrap up Toni Storm and Mariah May so that both of them are free to go elsewhere in 2025 in AEW? Well, you either give the belt back to Mariah May, which means you'll be playing hot potato with it, or you do a stipulation for Revolution. And for me, when I look at Toni Storm and Mariah May, I look at probably one stipulation that suits them best. It's a stipulation that hasn't really been used in wrestling, at all. And the storyline potential they could work with it afterwards, post-Revolution, would be tremendous. Would be absolutely tremendous. And to me, I think the best solution for them to have, to kind of, put this to rest for the time being, is a straitjacket match. That's right. Because both basically are viewed as crazy, right? Mariah's viewed as crazy for what she's done, for the way she acts. Toni is viewed by Mariah as being crazy for pretending to be something she's not. Why not settle it in a straitjacket match between these two at Revolution, so that way whoever wins becomes the champion, and the loser gets put in a straitjacket, taken to an insane asylum to get a therapeutic and psychological treatment, to where if it's Mariah May, she learns you got to be patient, you can't be in a rush and everything. You got to learn to wait your turn and everything. Just build yourself up. Don't be so impatient. Or if it's Toni Storm, again, they could work with that by having Toni be put into the situation to where, through the vignettes we would see, she would basically, through the psychological help and therapeutic help, would basically be brought back to being an OG Toni Storm, punk rocker Toni Storm, and be told that this timeless Toni Storm is just a figment of your imagination. It's a figment of your imagination. It's a safeguard you put because you're afraid to show the real you because of something that happened in the past. Now, if I'm AEW and I do this, if I go this route, I think the one honest thing they should do in the end, if I'm them, is, if it's Toni that gets put in a straitjacket, if they decide to do that kind of a match, if they have Toni lose and she's the one that goes in the straitjacket, and we see the vignettes where they try to get her back to being regular punk rock Toni Storm, rebel Toni Storm, then I could see, if I'm AEW, I capitalize on this by having her reference her last appearance in WWE. That's what I do. I have them reference her last on-screen appearance in WWE and what happened with her in Charlotte. That way, from a story perspective and a character developing perspective, we can understand better as to why she wanted to go the timeless route, because she didn't want to be reminded of what had happened to her in the past. So I'm totally for that going on if Toni was to lose this match, if they were to do it. And I'm totally fine with Mariah going through her situation if she ends up losing this match, if they were to do it. Because that way you could do the vignettes with Mariah, and then she could start learning through the vignettes, even though she would try to fight it. You can't be Toni Storm. You just got to be Mariah May. You got to be, the glamour one, or Mariah May. Basically just, something to where she learns patience, to where she learns, wait your turn, you'll get your opportunity, or something. Because if they play their cards right, whoever wins at Revolution, the next, unfortunately, on Mercedes hit list. Because it's going to be 1 year since Mercedes arrived in AEW, right? How do you think Mercedes Moné is going to want to celebrate? She's going to want to celebrate by becoming double champion in AEW. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. So to me, whoever loses this rematch at Revolution, and it's going to be some kind of stipulation match, and if it's a straightjacket one, I think that fits perfectly between these two. Again, whoever wins this, they better get ready to kiss that AEW Women's Championship goodbye, because it's going to go to Mercedes, and by going to Mercedes, it'll basically make her vacate the TBS title, and basically the one that loses the world title to Mercedes will eventually win that TBS title, and then you can run it back down the line between Mercedes and them later on. But yeah, as far as Toni Storm and Mariah May go, I think if you're gonna go in a direction with them, a stipulation match direction with them, come Revolution, you gotta go with a match, a stipulation that fits the storyline. And I think the best one, in my opinion, is a straitjacket match. You gotta do that. And a straitjacket match is basically anything goes. It's just another variation of a hardcore. It's just that the loser ends up in a straitjacket. That's it. The loser ends up in a straitjacket, and then you can add on the fact that whoever loses gets put in the straitjacket. They go to the insane asylum for therapeutic and psychological treatment to basically get them to understand, either in Mariah's case, you got to be patient, you got to wait, you're good, but you have to earn your shots and da-da-da. Or in Toni's case, basically, help her to put the timeless persona ego in the back of her mind, lock it away, and have her embrace her true self, and basically, I guess in a way, conquer that fear that made her create the timeless gimmick. So, so that's what I would do when it comes to this next rematch between the two. Agree with me on that if you want. That's up to you, but I think it's the best direction for them to go. Now, speaking of pay-per-views, PLEs, let's talk about Elimination Chamber. All of Elimination Chamber is set up for both the men and the women. We know that the winners of the men will take on Cody. We know the winner of the women's takes on Rhea or Io. But who is going to walk out of these matches? With the men, it's a lot more complicated. It is a lot more complicated. Because, there is rumor now that you can have a triple threat with Punk, Cena, and Rhodes. That's the rumor that's being thrown about, but not everybody wants that. You got word of Punk and Rhodes, or Punk and Cena. So, that's something that could happen. You got Drew and Damian going to start off their feud out of this, apparently, if the rumors are true. And then you got Seth probably starting his feud with Roman, because I got a feeling Roman is going to show up at the Chamber and cause Seth. Because you can't just have Roman get written off, from television and not make an appearance on the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. So I think he's going to show up at Chamber. They're not saying anything right now, but I have a feeling he might show up at Chamber, and just when Seth looks like he's going to win, Roman's going to cost him, and that sets you up for Seth and Roman come WrestleMania, if that's the direction they go in. You can also add Punk to the equation. That can happen too. You could have a situation where both, end up canceling each other out and everything. Roman shows up. He tries to spear Rollins. Rollins gets out of the way. He spears Punk. Punk gets eliminated. And then when Rollins thinks, he's killed, Punk's dreams thanks to Roman, Roman spears him. And then whoever's in there, let's say Logan or Cena or whoever, they pin Rollins. He's out. You're off to the races there. But I got a feeling Roman will show up, so that will set us possibly up for Rollins and Roman, and maybe even Punk, come WrestleMania. Well, Logan Paul fits in. Logan Paul's an interesting one because, again, you got Damian and, Drew set for Mania after this. You possibly have Roman and Rollins and maybe Punk set for WrestleMania after this. And then you got Cena, Cena himself and Logan Paul. It's like, where do you go from here? And, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. I mean, they might surprise us and say, hey, you know what? Let's put Logan in there. Let's see what happens if we put Logan Paul in there. And if you want Cody to continue his streak, that's the best way to do it. But, we'll see what happens. The strong rumor, the new report, is that there is a talk and push to do a triple threat. Will that happen? We'll have to see. And some people, like JD from NY206, has come out and said, if you're going to do, if you're going to do like a double pin, double winner, whatever, double elimination between the last two, then those two need to face each other on night one. The winner faces Cody on night two. And that could be the best solution to go with. But, we'll see. We'll see what they do come Elimination Chamber. But basically, if I look at it right now, Rollins is not going to win because of Roman. Punk may not win because of Roman accidentally spearing him. But if we were to take that dynamic out, I think what we're looking at is a few possibilities. Because we know, like I said, Drew and Damian are locked, apparently, for Mania. Roman and Rollins is possibly locked for Mania. We just don't know yet. We won't know till a week from Saturday. But that's basically the gist of it right now. And this is why the men's chamber is so stacked and unpredictable to really pick a winner in, because you got all different directions they can go in. And when it comes to who faces Cody and what other matches come out of this for Mania along the way. The women, on the other hand, that's a little bit easier to predict. A lot of people are saying you're going to go with Bianca, winning to face Rhea, but now you throw in the Rhea-Io thing as a bit of a wrench in the plans, that takes place on the Monday after Elimination Chamber. You look at that, and you're basically hyping up Io from last night as being undefeated against Rhea in one-on-one competition, or any kind of competition. And that really, like I said, throws a wrench in there. When you have Bianca and Naomi even acknowledging, hey, we can't sleep on Io, that should be telling you something right then and there that, yeah, Io might be walking in as champion. And what we might get is a triple threat, with the women. We won't get it with the men. If we do, that'll be on night two. The night one triple threat, or the women's triple threat, I should say, will be on night one. That's what I look at. But when you look at the women, yeah, they're kind of unpredictable too, but they're a little bit more predictable. Like, we know that Bianca and Naomi are probably going to drop their titles this Monday to Liv and Raquel. We know that. That's a possibility. And at the same time, we'll find out maybe on Monday who is the one behind the Jade attack. A lot of people are saying it's Bianca. They're thinking that's how Triple H would work. Make it look like it's Naomi, then it's Bianca in reality. Some are saying it could be both. It could be both that attacked her because, hey, we don't want to share the spotlight with someone that thinks they're better than us. Gets the world handed to them. That might be it too. We don't know. We don't know, what it could be, but we do know there's a good chance that the people walking in, or at least one of them walking into the chamber with gold around the waist, is going to be Liv. If people predicting and projecting the outcome this Monday to be true. Now, with that said, you look at the women though, and you ask yourself, well, how are they more predictable than the men, even if they're still unpredictable? Because we know, like I said, that whatever happens on Monday is going to have a vast effect on Saturday. And if it's revealed on Monday that, oh, Bianca did it and everything, and Bianca attacks Naomi, Bianca walks in as the heel. And it would make sense to her, and it would make sense if you think about it, since her husband, Montez Ford, is going a little heelish, going a little dark, it makes sense for her to do the same thing, and, there you go. Match made in heaven, or in hell, if you will. But Naomi, Naomi being the red herring and it's Bianca, that's going to be interesting. If it's both, that really will be interesting. We'll have to see. But it's, but if you take a look at Bianca's actions over the past month, it's like, yeah, something something's a little off here. You know, it's like she's not. I mean, go back to the Women's Royal Rumble. She doesn't even let Naomi and Jordynne Grace embrace like they did last year. She's like, no way. It's almost like she felt threatened. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. If she is revealed, and yeah, it's going to break a lot of little girls' hearts, but if she is revealed, you know, as some people would say, that's going to be a game changer. It's like, you think you know Bianca now, just wait till that ding, heel light goes on, and that heel engine starts up, and speeds off, without you, because the heel Bianca you get, you know, that Bianca is going to basically tell it like it is, whether people want to hear it or not. And that's a fact. That's a fact. But that's if it's her. That's if it's her. Again, we don't know. We don't know. And people might say, well, look at Naomi's reaction when Nick Aldis showed the video. And it showed, she saw Raquel and Liv walking away, or walking into the building. She was, they'll point out that Naomi was immediate to say, oh, I knew it was them. I knew it was them. It's like, why would you be so insistent that it's them when you don't even know that's true? So again, they're throwing you little things here and there. But when it comes to them, though, it does feel like, you're seeing Naomi and Bianca probably cancel each other out, if you will. They're going to cancel each other out, not just with the revelation possibly on Monday after they lose the titles, if they do, but also cancel each other out because Naomi's going to want to get back at Bianca or vice versa for what they did to Jade, for what the other did to Jade, whoever it's going to be. And then that person that did it to Jade, they're going to be basically busy with Jade at WrestleMania. And the person that didn't do it, well, they're not going to win, but, they'll get eliminated because of the whole debacle situation, and there you go. There you go. But they still might play a role in WrestleMania, maybe being a guest referee, like whose side are you on? And everything. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But I'm going to say that with the women, they are unpredictable, just like the men, but more predictable. So by saying that, I take Bianca and Naomi out of the running because of what's happening with Jade. Liv, I kind of keep in there a little bit because knowing Triple H, he might want to wrap up the whole Liv and Rhea thing once and for all. Like, just put it to bed, put it to rest. So unfortunately, that might be what we get. We might get a triple threat where it's Liv, Io, and Rhea. We'll see. But, I look at the fact that I would keep her right there. Bayley, I keep in that forefront too, along with, Alexa Bliss and along with Roxanne.
Okay, Brian. What day and time?
Sorry about that. That was my device. But
I'm not sure what went wrong.
Sorry, but that was my device there. Anyway, like I was saying, you basically you keep Liv in there, you keep Bliss in there, you keep Bayley and Roxanne in there, and you cancel out Bianca and Naomi. So this is what I see is going to happen. It looks like they're heading towards something with Bliss and Morgan. That's obvious. And I think what it's going to be is you're going to have Sister Abigail, Nikki Cross, and Bliss teaming up to challenge Liv and Raquel at WrestleMania. That's why I think we're heading there. And what better way for, I guess, Liv to meet someone or meet a couple of people crazier than her than to go up against, Bliss and Cross, in my opinion. But then that leaves us with Roxanne and Bayley. And this is where the match, even though it's unpredictable, becomes a little more predictable, because I have a feeling they're going to give it to Roxanne. Think about it. They gave her the longest time. They gave her the record-setting time in the Rumble, right? They gave her the win over Raquel last night, right? They've been pushing her as basically coming out and saying nobody's on her level. She is the best. She is the best. End of discussion. why not capitalize on that and say, okay, if you are the best, guess what you get to do? You get to go to WrestleMania and challenge for the Women's World Championship in a triple threat. And that, to me, fits Roxanne's character and how she's presented perfectly. It presents that perfectly because what that allows her to do is get into the ring with Rhea, with Io, and take advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself, and walk out Women's World Champion. Think about it, guys. No one's thinking about Roxanne. Think about that. So again, the men, very unpredictable, but again, we have some scenarios that could play out that, like I mentioned, like with the men, Roman shows up, takes Rollins out, maybe accidentally takes Punk out, then takes Rollins out. We set up the triple threat there. Then you have, Logan Paul and John Cena and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Damian and Drew, they cancel each other out. There you go. Then you got Logan Paul and Cena. Then, you have Cena eliminate Logan Paul. There you go. Or you might do the triple threat with Logan Paul and Cena, and Rhodes. So these are all different scenarios that could happen. But that's why it's also very unpredictable, because even though you could cancel out Rollins and maybe Punk, but mostly Rollins, and then Drew and Damian, it becomes a little bit more predictable, but unpredictable because you don't know where they're going to go. But with the women, yeah, it's still unpredictable, but it's also predictable in a sense. It's unpredictable because you don't know who they're going to actually go with to face Rhea and maybe Io in the triple threat, if they do a triple threat, which all signs point to that they are. But them, like I said, they're just as unpredictable as the men. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a lot easier to predict the unpredictability. Like again, you cancel out Naomi and Bianca, because the situation with Jade. You cancel out Bliss and Morgan, because obviously if Morgan and Raquel are going to become tag champs, Bliss and Nikki Cross are going to challenge them. So you cancel those two out. And then you're left with Bayley and Roxanne. Now you could give it to Bayley, give her another WrestleMania main event for the women, or you can build the future and give it to Roxanne. And thus build upon the momentum you have with her, right now, where she's basically proving everybody wrong about, hey, you say you on my level, but you ain't on my level, and I just proved it. And what better way to cap that off than having her win the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania in a triple threat match, or a one-on-one match, but more likely a triple threat, because again, that makes it a lot more less predictable as to who would retain or win. If you get what I'm saying? So the Chamber, to me, is definitely, the Chamber matches to me are unpredictable, but like I said, I think the women, I say with all due respect, are more predictable into what's going to happen, as a result, like who's going to move on and everything to WrestleMania, what matches that we're going to get going into Mania, and so on afterwards. But let me know what you guys think about that. And overall, that's really all I can say on, what's going on with WWE, what's going on in WWE and AEW. TNA, I will say this, I like what's going on with TNA right now. They're actually doing very well. And hopefully they keep the momentum up. Joe Hendry being the champion is the best decision they've made. Long overdue. But obviously, you're building towards a collision between him and Santana. I do like that. And I do like the fact that the person you're putting in front of Santana to try to get to Joe Hendry is Mustafa Ali. So I like that. I do like that situation there. However, we'll just have to see what they do. Going forward as they go towards the next pay-per-view in Los Angeles. So I think it's in Los Angeles. Yeah, it's in Los Angeles, the next pay-per-view. See what they do. But that's all I'm going to really say, guys. I just wanted to come on here and talk about some wrestling, give you my thoughts on a lot of things going on in the companies and where I think certain things are heading as far as, like Elimination Chamber going, building to, it being used to build to Mania, and what matches will come out of the, the Chamber matches themselves, like what directions and everything. Just wanted to give you my thoughts on that and all. Let me know what your thoughts are overall. and everything. What is your thoughts on Vengeance Day? Do you feel like it is basically like it's a return to provenance, if you will, or prominence, if you will, that of the OG Black and Gold? Let me know. What are your thoughts on the fact that people, that more people do agree that, yeah, it was a smaller ring, but the smaller ring shouldn't, subtract from a great show? Do you think they're right about that and everything? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Also, let me know what your thoughts are on what I've had to say about where I think WrestleMania is going to go via the men's and women's Elimination Chamber. How do you feel about that overall? And what are your thoughts about TNA's momentum right now? What do you think about that? Give me your thoughts down below in the comments or in the live chat during the premiere. And, that's all I can really say, guys. So until next time, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Also, find my content in all your favorite outlets, as described, I should say, or, in the description box. You can find me at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeart, Radio Public, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, Overcast, and any place that has a podcast, you will find mine there as well. Also, check me out at VENMO at BWRoses, Rumble.com at BWRoses, Odyssey.com at BWRoses.5. Also, find me at DeviantArt.com at BVW1979, InkBuddy.net at BWRoses. Also, check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Also, check out the Venmo and the Cash App to help support there. And check me out at Patreon at BWRoses. Also, follow me at Twitter/X at BWRoses and at Blue Sky at BWRoses. But guys, give me your thoughts overall on what I've had to say here. What are your thoughts, again, on NXT? Do you think it's kind of getting back to the prominence that the Black and Gold was? And what are your thoughts on the AEW situation with the ring? Do you think it took away from the action of a good show or not? What are your thoughts on what I've had to say, what I think is going to be the aftermath going into Mania after Chambers? And what are your thoughts on TNA's momentum? Let me know, guys. And until then, I'm out.